Hi, I'm Helmut Licht. Welcome to AstroApp instructional videos. Thank you for joining me in this video. As children grow up, they get to know their parents intimately, naturally. But there's always a time when dad in the morning, or maybe mom, leaves to go to work. He's gone for 10 hours and comes back, and they never know what dad is doing during that time. That's a part of dad they do not know. Once a year, the company where dad works allows the parents to bring in their children so they can see what the parent is doing. And on that day, the children see an entirely different side of their parent. It's the same with me. I've been playing music since 1958. I know many people. However, every now and then somebody comes up and says, Helmut, I had no idea that you're an astrologer. Or another person, I had no idea that you taught at the university. Another one, I had no idea that you're a ballroom dancer, and so on. And I'm sure it's the same with you. There is a side of you that people do not know. Our vision is halfway. By this I mean, if we are looking at the dress in a window, we only see the front of it. If you want to see the back of the dress, you have to go into the store and look at the dress from the back. Then you only see the back of it. You don't see the front of it. Now, if you put both together, then you have a more complete picture of the dress. It's the same here. I invented a house system which I call the Incognito Chart. And the Incognito Chart shows another side of you that the birth chart does not show. Both together will give a more complete picture of you. AstroApp, which I will be using, was kind enough to include that system in their program. What I will do now is I will bring in my birth chart. I was born in Germany, and then I will relocate my birth chart to Baltimore, where I've been living since 1958. And then I will create an incognito chart of my birth chart. I will explain the differences to you. They're very obvious, you'll see them. I will not really analyze them. I will just show you the difference between the two charts. And then I will bring in President Donald Trump's chart and also create an incognito chart and let you see both. And you can do with those two charts whatever you wish. This is non-political. This is strictly astrology. Okay, here we go. And this is the screen that you first see when you go into AstroApp. I go up here to charts. And when I work on particular charts, I can save those charts into a special folder called Favorite Charts. I click on there. And here is my chart right here, Helmut Licht. But it's nice when I click on it, I see the chart. This is a very nice feature. Then I say open, and here is my chart. My birth chart is German latitude and longitude. Now I lived in Germany the first 20 years of my life. In 1958, my mother, my brother, and I came to the United States, this beautiful, wonderful United States. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I will now relocate this chart to Baltimore, longitude and latitude, because I've been living here in Baltimore ever since I came to the United States in 1958. I go back to charts, open my favorite chart, and here it says Helmut Licht relocated. I can see it. That's the correct one. I click on it. I have to highlight it and then open. Here is my relocated chart, and it makes much more sense to me than my actual natal chart, because my life Ever since I started playing music in 1958, my life has been public. My Sun, Mercury, Mars triple conjunction in the 10th house makes sense very quickly now. I've been, I was teaching in two universities and one community college. That's the 9th house, higher education. Moon and Uranus are in there. What else? Yes, Neptune almost exactly conjunct the ascendant. I discovered that I was psychic. Many years ago, I played in a nightclub, and when I asked the waitress for my bar tab at the end of the evening, I only drink sodas. She gave it to me, and the moment that she handed it to me, this huge Catholic cathedral flashed into my mind. It's located about 2 miles from my home. I said to her, Sandy, when you handed me the check, a huge Catholic cathedral flashed into my mind. Does that make any sense to you? And she laughed and she said, yes. Look at this lady over there by the bar. She has been spending the last hour teaching me all about Catholicism. Anyway, also I call Neptune the antenna to the universe. My inspiration comes from there. When I write my songs, when I do my artwork, etc., and my poetry and whatever. And Pluto and Venus in the 11th house. The 11th house rules groups of people that have something in common. So I made my living for years playing for country clubs, groups of people, for weddings. That's when people get together for a specific purpose. And nightclubs, it all makes sense to me. Jupiter in the 6th house of work also makes sense because I've been very fortunate. There's a trine from Jupiter to my Sun and to Mercury and, yeah, possibly Mars. I've been very fortunate to make a consistently good living in music, which is not easy. Now, let me go back to my birth chart. Here it is. And now I will show you how to create an incognito chart. It is very, very simple. You go to charts and you edit this chart that's presently in the picture. Edit. I click on that. Now here's all the details. And we go over here to the house system. It says Placidus. That's the one I use. I click on that. I scroll down until I see Decanet. Here we go, Decanet Incognito. All I do now is click on it. And I don't want to update. If I update my natal chart to the incognito, then my natal chart goes away. I will now have to, first of all, rename that chart up here and call it Incognito. Incognito. I now say add new. I'm adding this as a new chart. And there it is. Now I do not like the way this is displayed. That's a personal situation here. I go up here to view styles and wheel styles. I prefer proportional. I click on that. That's the way I like to see my chart. So now let's compare my incognito to my relocated chart. In my relocation chart, the triple conjunction is in my 10th house, remember? And in my incognito chart, the triple conjunction plus the moon are now in the 12th house. The 12th house, that's where you do things alone, by yourself, among other things. And sure enough, when I do my art, I do it alone. I have converted my garage into an atelier, and that's where I do my art by myself. When I do my astrology, I do it by myself. when I do my music writing, my arranging for my big band, I have a big band, I do it by myself. In other words, this particular configuration shows a side of me that this chart does not show. And what else is there for instance? Here, Mars conjunct the ascendant now, almost exactly conjunct. I have abundant energy, not just physical, but also mental. I'm almost 80 years old. I go dancing between 2 and 3 times a week. And when I dance, I go to dance, not to talk. I will dance straight through for about 2 hours, non-stop. I still move all my band equipment, which is quite heavy, to all my jobs about 4 times a week. That takes energy. Pluto in the first house makes sense to me too. At the age of 20, my mother came to my brother and I and said, "We are going to America." Well, you know what that means. That means total personal transformation. That's what Pluto does. Pluto ends one thing to make room for another thing. When the leaves in the fall off the tree, those leaves die, but they make room for the new leaves to come in the spring. So it's not a finite thing, it's a transition thing. That's why Pluto's keywords are death and transformation. Makes sense. My life changed completely. My past was left behind, all my friends, everything was left just like this in one split second. And a whole new future opened up for me. A wonderful future. Venus in the first house makes sense also. I've been teaching ballroom dancing since the early 60s. And when you teach ballroom dancing, you work with the body, the first house, and you make it look good, Venus. That's enough about my chart. I merely wanted to show you that between my relocated chart and between my incognito chart, the planets have moved, but they have moved and thereby show a different side of me. All right? My next step will be to bring up President Donald Trump's chart. I go up here. Favorite, it should be in there. There it is. Donald Trump natal. I can see it. That's the one I want. I bring it up and say open. And here it is. I'm not going to analyze it. I only point out one thing, two things right now. He has got a trine from Jupiter in the second house of money and property to Uranus and Sun in the 10th house. And we all know that Jupiter expands, brings fortune. 75% of all the good comes through Jupiter. 25% comes through Venus. And from the 10th house, his career, his job, he knows how to make money. He's a billionaire, and that's the first thing I want to point out that you already know. And just like he has Mars conjunct the ascendant, abundant energy. That's all I will say about President Trump's natal chart. Much has been written about it, and you can go online and find all kinds of stuff. If you happen to find a liberal explaining it, they will see it one way. If you find a conservative explaining it, you will see it another way. Like I said before, this is nonpartisan. This is strictly astrology. Now, to create a incognito chart, I simply go back up here. By now you should know how to do it. Click on Edit. Again, it shows that I'm using the Placidus house system. I will now click on there, scroll down to Decanet. By the way, Decanet is another chart system that I invented. It is also included here in Astro app. And there are other videos in my site on that. I click on it, and again, I don't say update. I have to change the name to Incognito, and then say add new, and there it is. And voila. It's still the exact same planetary configuration. Uranus and Sun conjunct, trining Jupiter. The only thing, all these planets have, let's go back to his natal, have shifted from this side of the chart into this side of the chart. This concludes my video on what an incognito chart is and how to create one. One last comment. As you create your own incognito charts, you might find that sometimes the planets do not shift a whole lot. And going back to my dress analogy, a dress is a three-dimensional object, which means there is a front, a right side, left side, and a back. But there are also two-dimensional objects who have no backside. For instance, a painting. A painting, you only see the front. In the back, you may see the wood frame, but you don't see the painting. So if you have very little change from your natal to your incognito chart, that means you're a painting. What you see is what you get. Now, at times, there may only be a shift of one or two planets into a different house. Those shifts are important, and you should read up what one house placement means and the other one. For instance, if Saturn is in the first house in your natal chart, and by doing the incognito, it moves into the 12th house or the second house, those are important factors to consider. Thank you so much for your time. I hope to see you in my next video. Happy astrologing, happy 2018, and most of all, healthy 2018.